I've got two RTUs I'm gonna be working on today. The first one is a 20-ton rooftop that I actually replaced back in September. The unit did not come shipped with the coil guards here. They originally shipped me the wrong coil guards. So now I've got the new set in. Hopefully they're the right ones. I've got to get those installed. And then I've got a smaller 10-ton precedent that had a no heating issue on, and one of the high limits is bad. I've got to replace on there as well. So yeah, I replaced this RTU back in September. Being a one-man show, replacing these rooftops are actually pretty simple because you got the crane showing up. They're gonna lift it up in the air for you, set it down, move the old one for you, put it on your trailer. Basically, they take care of all the heavy load for you. And you know, there's only just a couple connections that you have to worry about. You got your gas line. On these units, they have a built-in disconnect switch. So you basically get the line voltage wired in there. Drain line goes back. We end up reusing the existing power exhaust because it just came with a barometric damper, and this one still works fine. It's just a motor. But this particular RTU has hot gas reheats for humidity control. The original RTU did not have humidity control. I had to run and mount a humidity sensor for the new unit itself, but I ordered it with humidity control. So as far as the internals go, everything is already in place. I'm gonna go ahead and get started on unboxing this coil guard, get this installed. So here's the directions. What's even the point? That is the worst illustration I've ever seen. I mean, guys, this is hard work. Don't let the video fool you. I mean, I'm just doing such a good job that it looks like it's easy. Don't let it fool you. Yeah, so these coil guards are designed to be toolless, so you can just pop each little clip up there on the top, pick the whole guard up. That way when you want to clean the coil, you don't have to use tools to remove it, which is pretty cool. Coil guard is in place. We are good to go. Now I can move on to this other rooftop and get that taken care of. So yeah, here is a 20-ton gas RTU with humidity control. Look at that. Quality comfort. That's right. Yeah, so I really enjoy replacing these RTUs. This is the type of work that I prefer to do. Being outside, even if it's kind of cold, is fine. And you know, you're dealing with heavy equipment, so you're not necessarily having to lug around the equipment physically yourself. You know, you've got crane services that come out and help you pick up the equipment and set the new for you. They'll even put the existing equipment on your trailer, so you don't have to worry about any of that. And then if there's any accessories that need to come up with it, you know, you're all set there. There's no problem. So to me, it's a pretty easy process, especially being a company of one. I'm able to do it by myself, no problem. You know, just having a few connections to disconnect and then reconnect on the new unit, it's really not that big of a deal. So it's still pretty time consuming setting up the crane and helping him. Since I'm really close to the edge of the roof, I was able to signal the crane operator myself as far as, you know, setting the equipment and removing the old as well. It's still a pretty lengthy process. It still takes all day by the time it's all said and done. You know, showing up with the crane, setting everything up, removing the old guy, making sure everything is kosher underneath the unit as far as the curb goes, your electrical, all of that. You know, a lot of these units on commercial, they have fire alarms contact set up, so you have to make sure everything is in test mode. You're removing the communications because this is all also tied into the building management system the Tracer Summit. So all of that ties into place. You got to make sure the new unit is set up to where the comm is working properly. Going from the old unit to the new unit, there are differences on the actual Reliatel circuit boards. So as far as the dip switches go, setting the address for the communications is not identical. So you got to kind of go into that, make sure it's all communicating properly, and then obviously you want to start up the equipment properly as well. You want to go through and make sure it is a three-phase system. Even though you're doing leg for leg whenever you're removing and installing the new, you still want to make sure all your compressors are running the right direction, your blower is running the right direction, and do a good thorough startup on it. YSC 120 RTU for the kitchen area. So when I came here the other day, the inducer motor was running, but it wasn't heating. When I pulled the main panel off, the circuit board was giving me an error code of 4 flashes. It was indicating that one of the high limits had tripped. So there's 2 of them on this particular unit. There's one in the burner compartment, and there's also one at the blower wheel itself. The blower wheel location is the one we were having the problem with. So I'm back today. I'm gonna go ahead and actually replace both of those high limit switches. And I'll show you as well. On the blower motor adjustment plate, there is a bolt with like a little star plate at the bottom, and as you turn that bolt, it slides the motor plate back and forth, and that's how you adjust the tightness of the belt. I think that little gear at the bottom has been stripped out because you can't adjust it. I got the hardware to fix that problem as well, so that's what I'm going to be doing today on this particular unit. So the control board here was giving me an error code of 4 flashes. So when I went to look at the nameplates here, this thing is washed away, so I couldn't see what 4 meant. So I ended up going online and pulling up the IOM for this unit, and it told me that trouble code was an open TC01 or TC02, which if you look down here in the description, it's a temp limit 1, temp limit 2. So at least I knew what the problem was. Now I just needed to figure out exactly where they were located. It tells you what wire number and what color it is, so I traced it down. The number 2 is you can see it, but it's down there underneath the burner assembly. And then the TC01 is located here on the blower housing. And this is the guy that was tripping out. So I'm gonna go ahead and replace that switch, or that temperature switch. I'm also gonna replace that one down there. Definitely gonna recommend getting everything cleaned up in here as well. Looks like something's been coming in here and making a mess. Probably from that guy right there. Little dirt daubers, they create a mess wherever they go. And then also, you could see right there was a screw that broke off, but that's gonna be fun to drill out. That could be the reason why it's not actually moving, but I'm gonna investigate that and see what's going on. That's not too bad, really. I may just need to replace the belt because it was squealing pretty good. So anyway, I'm gonna look into that and see what's going on. I've got that high limit installed. Went ahead and replaced both connectors so that way the wires were the same length. But that one's good. And then if you can see, I don't know if you can see it or not, but I replaced that one all the way back there, so we're good. So as you can see, the nut and the top nut as well, it's very rounded off. People have been trying to adjust it, it's just not working. But the little gear down there that adjusts this whole plate motor forward or backwards in order to tighten or loosen the belt is just not working. And someone had put a screw in there which broke, the head broke off. So I'm going to attempt to get all that out. I'm going to replace this with a new gear and nut set and replace the belt and get this thing adjusted properly. So once I started really looking at it, remove the belt, I noticed the motor felt pretty warm, and then I spun it, and that does not sound good. So looks like it's time to replace the motor. So I guess what I'll do is I'll just wait to repair all this once I get a new motor. All right, so I am back from Train Supply House. Got the new motor here. So now I just need to get started on taking this bad boy out and get the new one in. Get everything checked out, amped out, put the new belt on, and take a look at this adjustment gear as well. Let's do some work. All right, so on these motors, they are a multi-voltage motor, and you got this white plug. See how it has a little arrow right there? And it's, I don't know if you can see it, but it's pointing to 460. And they got 230 as well. So obviously you need to know what incoming voltage you have. And then you just got your 3 legs. Line 1, line 2, line 3. Blue, red, black. So if you match all those back up where they're supposed to be, everything should be phased properly. But of course, I'll check that once we get it up and running. The first thing I like to do is go ahead and use some penetrating oil. Coil is my preferred brand. So really just coat in there, let that sit for a minute. Just so you know, on these motor sheaves, you've got a set screw here, and then you've also got a set screw back here. Now this is the one you're going to want to remove to pull the sheave off. This one is if you want to adjust it, close it in or open it up. So I don't want to touch that one. I just want to remove this one. Now that I've got the set screw out, I can go ahead and put some penetrating oil down into that hole as well, and then recoat the shaft one more time. If I can at least get that key. There we go. So that comes right out. Beautiful. All right, so I let that penetrating oil sit for a couple minutes while I assembled this puller, so it should come right off. Just take your time, go nice and slow, make sure all the jaws are nice and square and all the way on, you know, and just hold it, and that's it, man. So now what I'll do is I'll clean the inside and get it ready for the new shaft. What I like to do when removing a motor like this, you want to make sure it aligns back up the exact same way, so that way both pulleys are square to one another. So an easy way to do that is you could just take your Sharpie and mark exactly where the old motor was. So that way you can know exactly where to line it back up, and you know it's perfectly square. Just a little tip there. All right, so now that I got the motor off the bracket, we can see where that screw was. So I want to remove that and then make sure that looks a little bit chewed up. wonder if I should end up replacing this plate a little bit, but the gear itself looks fine. But these nuts are all rounded off, so I'll definitely replace those. Take the bolt out, and then the gear comes with it. Beautiful. So it is a little chewed up on that plate. So I'm gonna get a file and try to file that nice and flat and square. All right. Now it is moving along just like it's supposed to. Get this back into place. Then we can take our gear. Alright, so I like to verify both motor specs are identical before I go any further. The existing motor is a 3 horsepower, 3-phase. The RPM is 1725 at 208/230 or 1425 at 460. 1725, 1425. So that matches three phase, 3 horsepower. All right, the amperage at 460 is 4.6. Same as there. And I can tell the motors look identical, so we know the footprint and everything matches there. Now that I've got those black marks, I can just line it right back up, make sure everything's tight. As long as everything's square to those black lines, it should be perfect. So all the black marks are perfectly lined up on all 4 corners. So now I'm confident this motor is perfectly square to this mounting plate, which in turn will be square once it's installed in the unit. So again, these threads need to be on the outside, not on the inside. And you've got your set screw on the inside, closer to the motor. And then we were completely flush on the outside there. Get it nice and flush on the outside, just like it was. Get it finger tight. And then there we go. So just get the mounting hardware put back in place on all 4 corners. Everything is nice and square, and then we put the belt back on, set the tension on that, get it wired up. All right, so I got everything wired up. I did make sure that the plug was set to 460 volt. The wire connector, everything is back in place. I got the belt tension set. Nice little 1/2 inch deflection there. Ready to start this thing up. Check the amp draw. Whenever you're checking amp draw on a blower motor or any motor that moves air, you want to make sure the panels are on. If that panel's off, that motor actually over amp. The motor is rated for 4.6 amps. Let's see if we can go into test mode. Sounded good. 4.4. So once you've already amped the motor out and you know, see, look, check this out. We're over amping, so I need to get this panel back on, but I just wanted to check the operation of it as well visually to make sure it's not doing anything crazy. So it looks good to me. I'm gonna put this panel back on. What I also like to do, I've got one of these little silver paint markers. I'll write on the motor that I replaced it and the date. All right, we got our Venner motor on. See if everything fires up. It's always a good idea to kind of step away. There we go. Got ignition. All right, so the heat has been running for a few minutes now, and I feel really good about it. I think everything's good to go. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap everything up, put the panels back on. I hope you guys find value in these videos. I sure do love making them. If you have any questions about what I've done today, or if I could have done something different, feel free, leave a comment down below. Hit that like button if you did enjoy the video. If you guys like what I'm doing, you like the content that I'm doing, you want to see more, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell as well, so that way you'll be notified whenever I drop a new video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.